Okay, we are talking about government advocacy, and actually one of my topics, Brian. I don't know how you feel about government advocacy. How do you feel about it?
I feel it's
Having
kind of
been,
a
no. Hold on, let me do that again. Having been an elected official, how do you feel about
um I don't think my elected officialness makes a difference, only because uh, I think when you're an elected official, this gets put in front of you, and who does if it's in your budget, who doesn't want to help a nonprofit? Because I know both as being a city commissioner, where we got stuff and people making requests for money and stuff like that, as well as being on the other side and being a Boys and Girls Club. That in that regard, both are important. It's a little bit on the advocacy side. I will say this as being on, since you brought it up, me being on the political side. Sometimes it's hard because when you do have to say no, I mean, you get people. It's almost like when we've talked before about people who are doing a grant for the first time, and they're like, "Oh, I've had my 501c3 for 33 minutes, and I want you to write me a grant." And you're like, "Yeah, you're not ready." I mean, we'd have people come to us and say, "I have this really cool idea to build a teen center, just a teen center, and I need the government to give me, I need the city to give me, $80,000 because I pay taxes." And we're like,
it?
you
That's
don't
not
have any
how it works.
history of being in business. You don't have any history of serving people. You don't have any history of youth development. I mean, it's a great idea, but that's so it's a balance out. But what's the reason why you do? What do you need? Why do you need government advocacy?
Yeah. So I was gonna ask you that. I mean, I love building those relationships with government officials, local government, state, federal. But I like the advocacy part of it. I like going to city council and getting proclamations. I would
Yeah,
map
well,
out the whole year of how many proclamations can I get just to bring awareness to what the
that's exactly
programs
that's
are.
in that regard. It's a commercial, but the other
Right.
side of this, though, you got to remember is that it's money. They
Yes.
can those officials can open up doors for funding, or tell you, or sometimes you need the city commissioner or your state representative or your U.S. congressman to just say, "Yeah, we're behind that organization. We're behind Brian's Animal Shelter
Yes.
because they do great work," or something like that. And they just need to sign a paper that says we're with you. That kind
Yes.
of is an endorsement kind of thing.
And
So
I
one of
think
the big,
that, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, well, one of the big things is it's important. So governmental advocacy is important because, like I said, it gives you more opportunities for your nonprofit. Whether it's what you said when they had, big thing of Boys and Girls Club of America pushed, where they had Boys and Girls Club Week, and every single
Hmm.
CEO across the country would go to their state rep a month before, or their local government, their city commission, their city manager, a month before this, say, "Hey, can we be on the agenda? Would you mind doing declaring this week Boys and Girls Club Week, Boys and Girls Club of the Rio Grande Valley, Boys and Girls Club of the Big Pines Week, kind of thing." So we can, and again, that in that regard, it's a commercial. It's
Right.
saying, "Hey, the government, our local government believes in you, and they're doing great things for kids." They say a lot of whereas, 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 whereas.
Yeah,
Beyond
but
that,
what I want people to be is a little bit more strategic when we're talking about this advocacy and understanding that whereas and that awareness plays a key role when it comes time for funding, because like you said, no one really is any investment. You're asking people to invest tax dollars into an organization, and you want to make sure that organization is legitimate and viable. And
mhm.
oftentimes I find that a lot of nonprofits do not go to their some of the basic things. And I love talking about, here are some of the basic things that you can do. One is get a proclamation. Just go to your city council, your county government, and
Right.
get proclamations based on whatever your mission is. So let's take a random mission. And it's not even random. I went to Pennsylvania. I did a keynote speaking in Pennsylvania, and I got to visit with the Kindness Project, and they help foster kids and they gather clothes for foster kids, right? And so I asked, I said, well, how's funding work here? And what, they got these townships. It's a little bit different from where we are in Texas. Got
Sure.
townships and other stuff. And I started asking about that and, local city government or townships and CDBG and all that. And then I said, okay, I said, well, have you had a proclamation done, by them? He's like, no, what's that? And I'm like, okay, there's a National Kindness Day. You are the Kindness Project. Have a proclamation presented by the city and the county so that they can start knowing who you are. So then you can build that relationship beyond what you have so you can tap into CDBG funding. Because in this case,
Right.
they would have been a non-entitlement. So it would have been county because it's rural. So county had the funds. But a lot of people don't know that.
For the record,
And
CDBG stands for Community Development Block Grant.
Community Development. Yes. Well, speaking these acronyms, CDBG. But yeah, that's Community Development Block Grant. And so what I think of on the most basic level for governmental advocacy is, one, are you taking advantage of building the awareness through simple actions, like getting proclamations? And it does, if you're a Boys and Girls Club, we were both Boys and Girls Club. I didn't just get a proclamation at Boys and Girls Club Week. In January, which is coming up, is National Mentoring Month. I got a proclamation for National Mentoring Month. We announced our Youth of the Year. We got a Youth of the Year proclamation. Then, Boys and Girls Club Week in March. We had Internet Safety proclamation. We had Lights On After School proclamations. We were in front of our city council at least once a month, almost. Why was that? Because we wanted money. I mean, it's simple as that. They give us about
and it's like it's awareness too.
It's awareness and money.
Yeah.
Okay. Awareness and money to me go together. I'd love to know your opinion on that, by the way. Awareness and money goes together for me.
No, I think. I would say it's definitely a relationship because money will go up if you do great things and people hear about it, and so that's awareness to people. If they know, everybody wants to be, part of a winner, and if I'm doing my Boys and Girls Club thing, and I'm bringing in more people, and more kids get a safe place to go, and our fees are $10 a year, and all these different things, people want to get on board with you. But in the same regard, when one of your employees gets arrested for a DWI and they're wearing their Boys and Girls Club shirt, things go down. You know what I mean? So it's a causational relationship.
I will say this, Brian. What you just said is a great example about when an employee gets arrested with a Boys and Girls Club shirt or does something with their organizational logo. If you have been doing government advocacy, especially at a local level, and you are getting those proclamations and you are engaged with your city, when someone gets arrested, guess who will call you so you can get ahead of that?
Them.
The chief of police
will call you. The people you know.
Them, and they're willing to talk to you to say, how can we get ahead of this? Can we keep this off the police block? There's a whole lot of things that come with that. So that's local level. What else you have for me, elected official, council member on the local level?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Not as, I was going to expand a little bit, but you just said the words that I was going to kind of parrot was the local level. Can you send a card and a letter and a wish and a request to the president, whoever the president is at the time? You can, but will they see it? There's only 2 U.S. senators. Is it worth your time to send something to your senators? Yeah. Christmas card, here's something we're doing. Our kids did at the Boys and Girls Club. Thank you for being a supporter, even if they're not a supporter. You always say that. It works its way up. You get more results. In my opinion, your return on investment is much better. In the city commissioners, knowing the county commissioners, knowing your state representatives, and knowing your state senators. Because what you want to do is keep them very aware of what you're doing in the community and how your organization is making a change for the better. You also want to let them know that they're more than welcome at any time to come in and tour and visit and see what you're doing, because that's the other part. You want them to come in and see what you're doing. I mean, if I'm working with kids and I get my state senator, which actually you remember Louis Gohmert?
Mm-hmm.
He was a little bit on the crazy side at times. He was actually my congressman. So Louis was in my he got into very partisan stuff. He wasn't quite as partisan when he first started. He was a judge from Tyler, Texas, and he came into our club several times. He played pool. I mean, he came in when we had 150 kids in there running around in the controlled chaos at the Boys and Girls Club. He was playing pool with some of the kids, of course. And for them also, by the way, picture of your U.S. congressman playing pool with some kids, humanizes them. Yeah, they want those pictures as well. So it helps them as well on their quest to, stay in politics and things like that. So it's one of those things that it's not hard to do. Invite them over, let them see what you're doing, educate them, almost like what we talk about when we talk about stewardship, when we talk about lapsed donors. I mean, almost think of your elected officials as lapsed donors that don't know anything that you're doing. Oh, by the way, we also do this. Oh, and by the way, we also do this. And by the way, we're also doing this. And like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize. And again, I'm going back to my Boys and Girls Club days. I didn't realize I thought you just kept kids out of trouble in the club. I didn't realize you do career and leadership, and you do education, and you feed them, and you do homework every day. I didn't realize that. They don't. So it's an education campaign, because when you can get them back, and of course, depending on what your mission is, who doesn't want to help homeless people get homes? Who doesn't want to feed people that are hungry? Who doesn't want to help kids at a Boys and Girls Club, or not see precious dogs and cats put to sleep, because you don't have capacity in your animal shelter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah, so unpacking what you've said and kind of staying with local. You went local, state, federal. You went across the spectrum. But I want to share some practical things that I've seen, and as well as you've seen what you just said. But on the local level, because I love boards, and I love boards, Brian. We had, and it doesn't work for everybody. Let me start by saying this. These are a series of best practices. Brian has a different experience than I have, but for what worked for us in government advocacy was, one is we had a person appointed by the city to our board. That was one, because that always had that connection for us. Now we got to the point where we identified 3 people that we wanted the city to approve from, and then they selected. Never was a controversy or anything like that. So that was one strategy. The other strategy that we looked at is we actually looked at our school board, because oftentimes people get elected to school boards as a stepping stone. I know people don't want to hear this, but it is true. They get elected as a stepping stone because they have their eye on a wider future.
Bigger office.
Bigger
so
office.
I want to go, yeah. School board, city commission, county commissioners, state rep,
Yep, that's it. So you look for that rising star, right? Not the person who comes to you and says, I want to serve on the board, and they're running for an election, and that's the only time they've ever talked to you, and they just want to use your name on their letterhead. Not that person. But you look for someone who's had interest in the past, they're a rising star, you see the big picture, you get them to come onto your board when they're in that school board position. You have a great experience with them, because you know that they're going to go on county. And when they get into that county, you leverage that relationship. You know they're going to go on. You know they're going to go on. So you have to.
Well, because why? Why though, Sabrina? Because they're going to know what you do intimately, and they're going to be your mouthpiece. You don't have to be your mouthpiece. They'll be your mouthpiece.
They will be your mouthpiece. So I want people to understand that you have to be strategic in this process too. It's not just let's get them in the building or get them on the grounds. It's when you get them on the grounds or in the building or awareness, then what is the purpose of that? How are you going to leverage those opportunities? Now, on the state level, Brian already nailed this one. State, federal, have them come in and take some pictures, play with the kids, do all that stuff. Like, they love that stuff. But the point is, the strategy behind it and why you're trying to do that is because there's a lot of state funding that your state representative or your state senator can point your way, and your federal.
Well, not only that, and they have to, they got to vouch for you. Yeah.
They got to vouch for you firsthand. I had a best relationship with, and he's still a state rep right now, Terry Canales. Best relationship. And anytime there was any extra funding, any extra anything, he would call us and say, hey, this, but we just need this. Can you do that for us? And it was like in 24 hours, can you do that? And it wasn't just the influence that he had at the state level. Sometimes it was the family money or his money, you know, but a great relationship. And it didn't happen overnight, guys. You have to be strategic about these relationships, and you have to invite them. Here's the thing, Brian, I'm going to ask you this, because I think we sit from a seat of where we were trained. We started out together at Harvard. We went through all this. We sit from a seat of confidence. I have dealt with so many people who said, oh, we can't invite our state rep. We can't talk to our mayor. We can't. That lack of confidence. What would you say to those people? I mean, I know you're a white male. You got all the confidence in the world.
It's about race.
It's a burden that you bear. But I would love to hear the words that you might have for them.
I always just tell them, I take it from an awareness point of view. I approach most people I know. And again, when we did the Build conference, I talked about this, about my board members. And I would ask my board members, what do we do? And this is board members. These are your people. These are the people who support you the most. And they would be like, good stuff for kids. So if my board members don't know the depths of what we do, I mean, you and I had the benefit of being a Boys and Girls Club, and which is a national organization. So people think they know a lot about it. So I'd always talk to them as if they were an 8th grader. And I don't mean that as in like they're less intelligent than me. They're less knowledgeable than me. Right. And I'd say, hey, love for you to come by the club. I'd throw in some of our numbers because, we're serving about 250 kids a day. So it's crazy in there. I'll get you some shoulder pads. So when they start bashing into you, whatever, just, being fun about it. Come see some of our art programs. That's commercial, but we're doing art. Maybe you can help us serve dinner one day, because a lot of these kids don't get something to eat. Shows food instability and need. We're trying to get a lot of our kids. We do a program called Career Launch. So we want to get a lot of our kids to see another job, and being a politician is a job. So maybe you could talk to them, stuff like that. You invite them in to be to try to get more familiar, but you explain to them what you do. But that's how anytime I had any political person come in, I never took for granted that they knew what we did. I would just invite them in and say, come see, we're doing cool stuff. We're doing really cool stuff. Come check this out. I mean, we were doing robotics, 15 years ago. Now every club in the nation does robotics. 15 years ago, I was doing robotics. I was like, come look at this. I've got a 10-year-old who's building this robot that's going to go here and then here and then here and then spin around 3 times and come back, because he programmed that. That's kind of, so you just tell them those highlights, but that's how I approach it. It's education. It's an education opportunity that leads to money.
With confidence, and they want to be asked. They are elected officials. And if at the basic level, you are, I don't live in this mind frame, but if your mindset is that, they wouldn't want to, they do. Start off easy, do a proclamation, which is what I consider easy. Invite them to visit your organization. Invite them to sponsor a table at an event. Then,
and they'd love to have this event brought to you by Brian Partee for City Commissioner. Brian Partee, City Commissioner, District 3. Those kind of things for sure.
If they're running for an election, I will say this: If they're running for an election and they have not won, I'll
Best
end it
time to
with
get them.
this.
Yeah.
Best time to get them. Best time to get them. But you don't say, vote for Brian Party. You
Right.
just get his name out there, right? So it's those
Exactly.
little caveats
Exactly.
like that. But that's what I consider government advocacy at the
Yep.
basic levels. Of course, there's many
Yep.
more layers to it than that. But for those that are out there,
I mean, yeah, if you're ever in Washington, D.C. or in the capital of your state, yeah, you could definitely go and make an appointment to go meet up with them and talk to them personally. So again, and that's more because when you start getting to a state senator, a U.S. congressman or something, they've got thousands and thousands and thousands of constituents. So you're putting a face to the letters I've been sending and to the Christmas cards I've been sending and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of just a familiarity thing. So, but yeah, I remember Boys and Girls Club used to do.
We used to hang out at the state capitol. That's where you were going, right? We would go.
Yes, advocacy days. Mary McWhorter. You got it.
Yeah, we would go and we would get these emails to say set up appointments with your state reps. We would set those appointments up.
Oh, and then they knew who was on. Boys and Girls Club was really sharp because they knew who was on all the appropriations committees that you needed for children advocacy. So they're like, which Boys and Girls Club CEO has Representative Johnson, because Representative Johnson is controlling a lot of money for after school food feeding or something like that. So
it was amazing.
That's
and things that we took. I mean, now that I look back, it was something I want to say take for granted, but we were very used to getting those emails. Here's your state reps. Take this. Take a little packet with you. Drop this off. If you can, bring some club kids with you. And we always took board member, myself, and some club kids. I mean, that was like, and the kids were so excited because they got to go to Austin. We always took little homemade gifts. Missing school, but it was full excused absence because they were learning about the state, how the state ran. So there is nothing wrong there. We learned that in our journey. Those are the things we want to teach you because a lot of you don't have an alliance or a national office that's helping you know these tips and tricks. That's what the S&B Mastermind is about. You're basically getting a national office at your fingertips, and you're not out there swimming it alone trying to figure it out. We have all of those tools. And that's the exciting part for me. Like, this is exciting to be able to impart this knowledge that we have collected over a 50-year history. And we have that knowledge from different perspectives. We have it from a joint perspective because we came from the same kind of, I don't know what's coming to me, womb. But then
the mothership.
Mothership. Came from the mothership. But then once we were deployed from the mothership, we went back into very different communities. So we had to adapt to our communities. And because we had to adapt to our communities, we have very different styles. But that's great for you because now you have so much to pick from. So anyway, I know.
And plenty of ways where we can help you. So check us out because we're short of time on this one. But check us out at the nonprofitmastermind.com. No www, http:// nonprofitmasterminds.com. Sign up there. We're going to go it's 1 whole year, folks. 1 whole year. You're going to get a lot of Sabrina and a lot of Brian. So that's a lot of knowledge for you, not only as a group, but also one-on-one, also grant writing, also training for your board, training for your staff, all the materials you might need if you don't have good onboarding, where it will help you set that up, stewardship programs and anything, which leads me to follow us next time because we're going to talk a little about quick stewardship. So all that to say,
thank y'all. See you next